Lesson 1-2, Order of Operations. Our essential question is, how do you use the order of operations to evaluate an expression? We have one new vocab word today. It's the order of operations. And under the notes column, you can see where we've got the acronym PEMDAS. Hopefully from a previous course you've worked with PEMDAS before. It's really helpful in remembering the order that you do things in math class. The P in PEMDAS stands for parentheses, and parentheses may be rounded, they may look like brackets, they may also look like braces, depending on the problem. And when you're solving within the parentheses, if there's more than one set of parentheses, you work on the innermost set first. From the inside out, you solve. Our next letter is E. The E represents exponents. Remember, exponents are powers, so they're little raised numbers, like 2 to the third power would be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. The next step involves multiplying and dividing, and that step goes from left to right. So that's why you see the arrow up above. It doesn't mean multiplication comes before division. So multiply or divide from left to right. And then the last step says A and S. The A and S are for adding or subtracting. And again, those operations work from left to right. So they're kind of equal to each other. Now we're going to use PEMDAS. Evaluate using the order of operations. 4 divided by 2 plus 3 times 7. The first thing I'm going to do is rewrite the problem. Then I'm going to write PEMDAS up above to remind us of our order of operations. I do not see any parentheses, and I do not see any exponents. So the step that I'm going to start with is multiplying and dividing. In multiplying and dividing, go from left to right. So the operation that I see on the left is actually dividing. So I'm going to divide first. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then I keep the rest of my problem. Now, staying with that multiplying or dividing, my next step needs to be to multiply. 3 times 7 is 21. 2 plus 21 gives us our final answer, 23. The next problem, I'm going to copy down as well. (20 minus 7 plus 8 to the second power minus 7 times 11. This problem does not have any parentheses. It has an exponent though, so I need to start with the exponent. 8 times 8 is 64. The rest of the problem, 20 minus 7 plus 64 minus 7 times 11. The rest of the problem just comes down. One step at a time. Now I've got subtraction, addition, subtraction, and multiplication. In PEMDAS, I see that I need to multiply and divide from left to right, so I'm going to multiply over here. 7 times 11 is 77. Then I'm going to bring down the rest of the problem. and move on to my last step, which is adding and subtracting. And that goes from left to right. So I'm not going to add before I subtract on this problem. I'm going to go from left to right, which means 20 minus 7 comes first. 20 minus 7 is 13, plus 64 minus 77. Then, still left to right, I can add 13 plus 64 is 77, minus 77 is 0. So my final answer is 0. Our next example has a big, beautiful fraction. It says evaluate using the order of operations again. A fraction, a big fraction like this, I can show you what it would look like if it was written without the fraction sign. The numerator, 1 plus 3 squared, then we would be dividing by our denominator, and on this denominator I would have to use a bracket because there's already a parenthesis in the denominator. So this is what the problem would look like if you wrote it out without the fraction bar. I like to just think about these big fractions as separating the numerator and denominator. You can simplify the numerator, simplify the denominator, and then simplify the fraction at the end. So I'm going to take the numerator, 1 plus 3 squared, and simplify it. So I need to work inside of my parentheses. 1 plus 3 is 4, so 4 squared is 16. So my numerator is 16. Now I'm going to work separately on my denominator over here. My denominator also has parentheses. 10 minus 5 is 5. 6 times 5 is 30. So now I can put it back together, and my fraction is 16/30ths. That fraction is going to reduce. I can divide by 2 in the numerator and denominator, and my simplified answer is 8/15. If your fraction divides evenly, where the numerator is higher than the denominator, it's okay if you divide it evenly and your answer doesn't have to be a fraction. In this situation though, the numerator was smaller than the denominator, so it's going to stay a fraction, and we just need to make sure the answer is in lowest terms. Okay, next up, we're going to use the order of operations again, but we're going to have to do a little bit of work first. A equals 2, B equals 6, and C equals 4. So we need to plug it in. So my original expression, a squared times 3b minus 2ac, all in parentheses, divided by c. My original expression, we're going to take a equals 2 and plug it in. So 2 squared. B equals 6. So 3 times 6. Then we have 2 times a was 2, and c is 4. And then divided by 4. So that's just substituting all of the values that they gave us for our variables. Now we need to work inside of the parentheses. And inside of the parentheses, there's our PEMDAS, I need to do all of my multiplying from left to right. So I'm going to start over here. 3 times 6 is 18. Then I'm going to move over, still in the parentheses. 2 times 2 is 4. Still in the parentheses again. 4 times 4 is 16. And last step with the parentheses, now I can subtract. 18 minus 16 is 2. Okay, now we're done with the parentheses. Next up is exponent. 2 squared is 4. And now I can multiply and divide from left to right. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 divided by 4 is 2 for my final answer. think this is our last example. So I'm going to write my original problem. And then plug it in. A equals 4, B equals 6, C equals 2. So 4 times, I've got a bracket here, 2 times B, so 2 times 6, divided by 6 minus 2 squared. So with PEMDAS, remember if we have more than one grouping symbol, more than one set of parentheses, you need to start on the inside. So my innermost parentheses will be here, 6 minus 2, which is 4. The rest of the problem comes down like this. Now, inside of my brackets, from left to right, I need to do my multiplying, dividing from left to right. So that means 2 times 6, which is 12. Bring down the rest of the problem. And then 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now right here, we see a lot of mistakes because we see students want to multiply, but multiplying does not come before the exponent. So please make sure that you're following PEMDAS. After parentheses, which is what we've been doing this entire time, working in the parentheses, you have to move to the exponents. So 3 squared is 9, and then 4 times 9 is 36 for our final answer. So be careful with your order of operations and take it one step at a time. You should be able to write a summary now. Here's your sentence starter. Using the order of operations to evaluate an expression involves. So please finish this summary using complete sentences.